The question that I've been getting the most the last week has been around Bitcoin, and it's been two questions really. The first one being, will Bitcoin reach 20k by the end of the year? And the second one being, when will the bull market top happen? So when will Bitcoin reach its top within this cycle, and when's that likely to happen really? Obviously, I don't have a crystal ball, so any opinion that I give is that it's an opinion. I've been wrong in the past on a bunch of stuff. So take whatever I say with a grain of salt. So will Bitcoin reach 20k by the end of the year? If you'd asked me that question a few months ago, I would have said no. Bitcoin won't reach 20k by the end of the year. It would most likely be the first quarter of next year. But the last couple of weeks, Bitcoin's gone pretty crazy, right? And the level that was important to me, and the one that I was looking out for, and really I still am, was 13,900. Because that was the level, that was Bitcoin's highest ever close on the month. So highest ever monthly close was 13,900. And that was in 2017, obviously when we had the top, run all the way up to 20k, but closed the month at 13.9. We didn't close last month above 13.9. But since then, we closed very, very close. But since then, we've gone from around 13.9 in the last week to 15, I think it was 15.9. And we're around 15.5 right now. It's looking very likely that we're going to be closing above 13.9 on this month. And that's the level. So if we close above that, there's not a lot of resistance from 13.9 all the way up to 20k. There just isn't. We're running out of resistance levels at the moment on Bitcoin, and that's very, very bullish. If we close the month of November, can we get from 15 to 20? We absolutely could, but I'm not so sure. I think we could probably push it close, and it would be close. But Bitcoin could definitely do it if we get that close. If we don't, if we've gone all the way up to 15.9 and we somehow managed to close below 13.9, then that would not be bullish. That would be the opposite. So it's this month's important. It's probably the most important in Bitcoin's history, and we've got 23 days a month left, so a long time, and a lot could happen. We could maybe just blast all the way up there. Who knows? Everyone's very bullish on Bitcoin, and it's moving, and that's why Bitcoin is king. The bull market top. That's tricky. So I was just doing some little analysis, and when I say analysis, I was fucking around with the charts, right? I'm not some professional. I was drawing lines and charts and seeing what I could come up with, right? It's not rocket science. So the top in 2013, which was in November, I believe, November 2013. So if we take from the 2013 top to how long it took to break out past that point, that was 41 months. So it was 1,247 days, I think it was. So it took over 3 years for that to play out. Now, if we look at the top from the last cycle, which was in 2017, and we look at the breakout point, which was the last couple of weeks, that was 35 months. So a little bit less, but not too much in it. If we look at the breakout point in 2017 to, I think it was 2017, I think it was around May. I might be wrong on that, but I think it was around May. But if we take the breakout point from mid-2017 to the top at the end of 2017, that was only 8 months. So, and that was a rise of 1,200%, I believe that was. 1,100 up to 20k, which is still insane. And then if we measure the breakout point from now, and we measure 8 months, we get to around mid-2021. I don't necessarily expect to line up perfectly. There's no science behind this, but I tend to believe that it's going to take a little bit longer. But if we measure the same percentage rise, which was 1,200%, from the breakout point, 1,200% brings us to around $200,000 each per Bitcoin. Now that seems insane. But we went from 1,000 to 20,000 in 8 months before. It's not impossible. I tend to believe, and I've been saying this before I even really started looking into it properly, I think, because I'm a big fan of Bob Lucas, and I do believe in the 4-year cycle, and where the halvings play into that, I do believe that the bull market top will be closer to the end of 2021. And I've been calling it the beginning of 2022, but I do believe that it will probably be around the end of 2021. And look, the economic climate, everything is in Bitcoin's favor right now. I wonder how many people were around in 2017 to really understand what's coming when we talk about bull market tops, because it's not just what's happening right now is nothing. This is absolutely nothing. If you was around in 2017 and you saw the bull market, and I'm talking specifically about mid 2017 to the end of 2017, that 6-month period, the parabola rise, right, from Bitcoin, it was insane. Now I got in very early 2017, so I was not an expert at all. I was very early in the space. I made a lot of mistakes. I could have made a lot more money, but you didn't need to be smart to make money in that period. You just needed to be in the game. And a lot of people will find that out this time. You can't quite believe how high and fast these projects rose in price. With 2017, Bitcoin moved. There were some outliers, but Bitcoin moved first and the market moved with Bitcoin. But the projects, the altcoins, didn't really make their move. I mean, they're insane moves, right? They didn't really make them until after Bitcoin had reached its top at 20k. We had this crazy blow-off period in alts where there was so much money in the market and Bitcoin had just crushed it that all this money started trickling out of Bitcoin and moving into everything else. That period was absolutely insane. Every single day you would just see another coin going up 200%. 100%, 300%, just making insane moves. And these weren't projects on Uniswap, you know, these weren't projects with 200k market cap going up 300%. These were projects with billion-dollar market caps rising like nothing else. And I'm talking about Ripple when it went up to $3.50. Tron, Verge was an insane one, and that was totally different because of McAfee. There were so many coins that moved so hard, nearly 1,000% around that time. And 2017, I believe, is not going to be anything compared to what we see next year. I think the bull market that we're going to see is going to be a lot different because 2017 was a lot of speculation and Bitcoin was just a speculative asset. People now understand the value of Bitcoin, the store of value narrative. There are a lot of projects now that have real working technology and that are ushering in real adoption. And I just think it's going to be an entirely new animal. And we're going to see some insane moves on some real projects and projects that aren't real. Some projects that are, let's just call them shitcoins. We're going to see some insane moves on everything because the whole market's going to move a lot higher. And I don't think people really are quite ready. So if you want an idea, go back and look at some of the charts from 2017. It should give you a good indication of what's coming. I mean, the craziest pump I remember, I'm not sure it was around that period. It might have been a little bit different, but it was definitely towards the end of 2017, was Roblox XRB, and they've changed the name to Nano. But Roblox was just the most insane pump I've ever seen, and I was in it. I sold too early, like a lot of people. My numbers might be wrong, but it went up something like 40,000% in, couldn't have been longer than 3 months, 2 to 3 months. This is what I'm talking about. There will be projects that will make some moves that you cannot believe. And you need to be ready. I would urge a lot of people to go back and do their research on 2017 because with what's coming, you need to be prepared. And you also need to be prepared for the fact that you will need to exit the market at some point because the parabola phase is one where your emotions will take over, but you need to be smart and act. But I didn't do that in 2017. I was on the wrong side of it. I actually did take a lot of money out at the beginning of 2018 when Bitcoin was really high. Bitcoin was between 15 to 20k. And I did take quite a bit of money out. Not because I'd planned to. I hadn't. I would have totally kept my money in there. But my wife at the time was telling me we need to take some money out because there's loads of money in there and it's not real money and we want to spend some of it. So I actually took quite a bit out. Not because I was smart enough to think that you should, but because my wife was badgering me to do it. So we did quite well there. So maybe I'll ask for her advice next time as well. So I did a poll yesterday asking people what project they're most excited for 2021. And the options I gave were Quant Network, Ocean Protocol, Chainlink, and Ripple. And I said all projects are working with large institutions and with the adoption of blockchain technology accelerating, 2021 could be a big year. But who excites you the most? And we had 1,211 votes over the course of one day, and by far the two projects that were chosen were Quant and Ocean, and it was very close. I mean, both of them, it was 39% and 37% Quant, but really there was nothing in it. In my eyes, it's a tie. Quant and Ocean by far the project people were most excited for out of the options. Ocean are a project I've liked for a long time, and I was talking about Ocean many years ago because they kept creeping up in research that we was doing on Quant, and Gilbert was a fan of them, and they kept showing up in all these European documents, then EU documents, and I was like, what is this project? I like the guys, I like Trent, Bruce. I've always been a fan, but I got asked recently, why don't you tweet about Ocean more? Because they're in my header on Twitter, but why don't you talk about them more? And the reality is that I looked into Ocean a long time ago, and I've been a big fan of the project, but lately I've just kind of taken my eye off them, not because they're a bad project or anything, just because I've been so focused on other things. I've not really had to get involved with the community building aspect of Ocean because there's two people, Donny and Cobra, who took the reins with that a couple of years ago and absolutely killed it. Right, they garnered this community into something really special, and the Ocean community, the Ocean Navy, I think they're called, are very passionate, and rightly so. And I think Donny and Cobra deserve a lot of credit for that. There was some craziness, some hostility between both communities a while ago, and a lot of people that I speak to had some issues with Donny and Cobra. But with me personally, I can only speak to what my interactions with them. They've always been very nice and very pleasant to deal with and talk with. And I think they deserve a lot of respect for the way that they've handled Ocean and the community they've built. A lot of people recognise the scale of what Ocean are building when it was announced the other day that Deutsche Bundesbank will be using Ocean Protocol's technology, and they've been chosen to build a decentralised chain for the Bundesbank. Just huge. The Bundesbank essentially said that they were the only potential architect for the job, which is a huge endorsement for Ocean Protocol. I mean, you think of how many amazing projects are out there. Ocean Protocol, in their eyes, were the only solution. Now, the Bundesbank are one of the biggest banks in the world and one of the most respected. So to see Ocean Protocol working with them, unbelievably bullish for the project. And, price... Bitcoin's just ruled in the market, so the price has been doing all kind of funky things. But as a long-term hold, Ocean is very, very close to the top of the list, and you cannot FUD Ocean in any way after that news. I wouldn't be surprised if this is just one of the bullets in the chamber for Ocean Protocol. So kudos to Ocean. And I can see why a lot of people were choosing them in the poll. To see them up there with Quant, obviously people know how huge of a fan I am on Quant. I really owe it to myself to look into Ocean a bit more, because the reason I didn't want to tweet about them lately, or the last God knows how long, was because I wasn't looking into them, and I don't like to talk about projects that I'm not really keeping up with their developments. I think it's kind of a disservice to me and the people who follow me, so I deserve it to myself to really look into Ocean a bit more, especially after this news. I mean, how could you deny it anymore? Something that keeps coming up and something I keep seeing in the communities is Quant's partnership with SIA, and a lot of people are still mistaking SIA S.P.A. for SIA Coin, their ticker is SC, and saying that SIA Coin are the partners for Quant Network, and it is not true. SIA S.P.A. are a giant European payments provider. SIA Coin, I don't really know what SIA Coin even do. Just another crypto project in my eyes. Maybe I'm doing them a disservice, but I've just never really looked into them, so I can't really speak to it. SIA S.P.A. are the project that Quant are working with, and they're a giant company. And I did a tweet about this recently. Number one card processor in Italy, the number one cross-border transactions in Europe, the number two card processor in Europe, 16 billion payment cards transactions processed annually, 84 million plus payment cards managed. And recently they completed on a merger with one of the other biggest payment providers in Italy, and that's NEXI. And NEXI, they manage 41 million payment cards. They serve 13,000 ATMs, 6.1 billion transactions processed annually, 469,000 corporate banking workstations, $463 billion of annual processed transactions. So they're a giant company as well. And these two companies merged recently in a $15 billion all-share merger. And this makes SIA and NEXI the largest payments provider in Europe. And what's interesting about that, for the Quant community, Quant and Overledger was chosen as SIA's interoperability solution. So whenever a bank that uses SIA's infrastructure needs interoperability, they will be using Quant. They will be using Overledger. It's a huge, huge deal. And this deal with NEXI just expands it in such a huge way. And if you wasn't already bullish on Quant, it's created a whole different animal. But it's not SIA coin. It's not SIA coin. So just wanted to talk a little bit about some projects that I'm interested in and just kind of run through some of their latest developments. So Quant is getting ever closer to the Overledger Network launch. We haven't had an official date. We've been testing for a long time now, and the word that I've been hearing is that it's done. Gilbert's extremely busy at the moment. We just haven't had the announcements yet. The Quant team has been very quiet at the moment, and I shouldn't say the Quant team, I should say Gilbert. Gilbert's been very quiet at the moment, which is a good thing for the project, not a bad thing. But he's extremely busy at the moment, and we're just not hearing a lot from him. So read into that what you will. But hopefully we get some news on that before the end of the year. That would be a nice thing for the Quant community. Ultra IO, Ultra Blockchain, whatever you want to call them. They partnered with the Sandbox for co-marketing activities and cross-blockchain experiences. Now, I'm a big fan of Ultra. I believe they will be the de facto gaming blockchain project in crypto. They recently partnered with the Sandbox. There's a great Medium article running through both projects and running through the partnership. The Sandbox and its suite of tools will be published on Ultra Games, leveraging its ecosystem communities composed of gamers and game developers. Ultra will be present on the Sandbox virtual world to create game experiences, events, but also to evangelize its technologies. In addition, Ultra and the Sandbox will collaborate to enable cross-chain interoperability of NFTs. I'm going to do a video on this at a later date, but NFTs I think are going to be absolutely enormous in the future. Any project that is delving into NFTs, it has my attention at the moment, and Ultra is doing some amazing things. And if you haven't looked into Ultra, I really recommend doing so. VXV, Vectorspace, signed deals with Neudata, who have a network of 75 hedge funds, I believe, and Cloud Quant, who have 400,000 traders. And I think Cassian mentioned that they will be onboarded to VXV, which is, for a project that is under $10 million market cap, that's pretty huge. On the latest call, he mentioned that PR for both projects is on the way, and they want Vectorspace, the way they operate, they don't just want to put PR out for these partnerships and have it falling on deaf ears. They want the companies to put out the PR and talk about Vectorspace, which is the right approach, but it can take a little bit longer and drag things out a little bit because these big enterprise clients and customers, they operate a lot slower than projects in crypto. But very good news, Neudata and Cloud Quant are going to be working with Vectorspace. So CoinMetro recently launched the CoinMetro bond and also added USD Fiat to their exchange. So the CoinMetro bond pays 8 to 12% a year in interest over the course of 2 years. It pays interest daily and it goes right into your CoinMetro account. So I'm a big fan of CoinMetro. I've been looking into them more and more recently, and the more I look into them, the more bullish I am on the exchange and the company and the people working behind the scenes. They really are building something special, and the CoinMetro bond is an example of that. And Kevin Merkos recently said, I think it might have been on Telegram, I can't really remember, but he said, this is in relation to the CoinMetro bond. If you watched us for the entirety of these 2 years and you see that maybe we haven't met your expectations, you have the ability to cash out right into CoinMetro's own XCM token at a value of 50 XCM tokens per one bond token. But if after those 2 years you've seen growth, you see potential, they've 5x, 10x, 20x over the course of those 2 years, you have the ability to convert into CoinMetro's growth token. That gives you equity-like rights in CoinMetro's parent company. That means that you can get dividends, that means you can get revenue share, that means that if they sell the company, you get a piece of the pie on that as well. Most importantly, you actually get equity-like rights into the company based on the current valuation of the company, not the valuation in 2 years. So it's pretty amazing what CoinMetro have built there. Also added USD to their exchange, USD Fiat, not USDT. So they already have pound and euro pairs, and now they've added USD to their exchange, and that puts them in a whole different league when we talk about exchanges. That is as legit as it comes. And I recently used, so I was quite blown away by this. So I recently, for the first time, withdrew some money from CoinMetro, and I went through their GBP pair, withdrew it to my bank account, and naturally whenever I do that, so I use Kraken, whenever I do that I normally have to wait a couple of days before it hits my bank account, or at least a day, at the very latest a day, right, which is still in my eyes was like, oh, that's good. But CoinMetro, I withdrew GBP straight into my bank account, and I'm not joking, as soon as I did it, my phone must have lit up about a minute later saying you have a deposit into your bank account. It was unbelievably quick. It was near instant, at the most a minute, which like if you can't wait a minute, then what the hell's wrong with you? To have money in your account, withdraw it straight into your bank account nearly instantaneously is fucking incredible. And to see CoinMetro enabling this to its customers is fantastic. And for, you know, I do it in pounds, but if you're a US trader, that is a big plus. That's a big plus. So I'm very, very bullish on CoinMetro and what those guys are working on. So AllianceBlock recently announced Liquidity Mining, a product that allows users to provide liquidity through a number of different protocols, starting with Uniswap and Balancer, and stake their liquidity pool tokens for a reward in ALBT, and later a potential additional reward from our strategic partners. And they recently, I think it was today, might have been yesterday, they recently had their final private sale token unlock. So no more private sale tokens being dumped onto the market. Might see price move down a little bit, but after that should see price move up a little bit. So it might be a good time to look into AllianceBlock ALBT. Ocean working with Bundesbank, just absolutely huge. One of the biggest news I've seen in crypto in general. Hathor, not a lot happening with Hathor at the moment. It's gone a bit quiet. But tier 1 exchange is on the way, and that will be by the end of the year. Hopefully we see that by the end of the year, and I heard that it's a very big exchange, so we should have a lot more liquidity for miners and traders and all of that jazz. Finally, I want to talk a little bit about a tweet I did recently talking about why I wasn't talking about the US elections and Trump and Biden and politics, and I simply said that I just choose not to. And I wanted to expand on that a little bit. I have no interest in talking about politics on my Twitter profile or my social medias. Not because I don't care about politics, more because I just don't see it as the right venue to do so. There's so many people talking about it. And if you really want to know what's going on, just go on anywhere else and you'll see it. You don't need to come and, you don't want to know my opinion. It's just pointless, right? And I like to talk about the projects I like to talk about, and I like to talk about the space in general, and that's really what my Twitter is about. I talk about the projects I like talking about. I only ever talk about projects I'm passionate about. If there's something else I want to talk about, I'll talk about it, and if there's something else I don't want to talk about, I won't talk about it. Not because I'm not interested in politics. I talk about politics with friends and family and my wife, but I don't need to talk about it on Twitter or where else. If you want to know my opinion, DM me and we can have a chat about it, right? But I won't be talking publicly about that stuff. And I'm not American, so it doesn't really affect me, I'm British, if you haven't figured that out already. But even then, I won't be talking about Brexit or any of that stuff. We'll keep it crypto-based. And that's what I like, that's what I enjoy. We'll stick to that. So that's it for another week. We've gone a little bit longer this week. If you've made it this far, kudos to you. I still haven't really figured out the structure of these, and I kind of like the fact that I can just keep it free form, so maybe I'll stick to that. But until next week, that's me. I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll see you next time.